Hello, second graders. This is Mrs. Gilmore. For today, we are going to be working on Unit 4, Lesson 9. And in this lesson, we are going to be tackling subtraction problems that have zeros in the ones place or the tens place. Now, you've done a little bit of that when you learned how to subtract from 200, because 200 had two zeros in it. But we're going to be doing other numbers now that might have a zero in the tens or the ones place. So the only thing you'll need for this lesson is your SAB and a pencil. So turn in your SAB now to page 181. Okay, we're on page 181 now, and we're going to start by looking at problem number 1, and we're going to do this problem together. Okay, I'm also going to I'm going to be using my ungroup first method, but I'm also going to be using my base 10 drawings to check my work. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask myself, do I need to ungroup? Yes or no? So I'm going to take a look and start with my ones place. I have an 8 on top, which is greater than the 6 on the bottom, so I'll have enough ones to subtract. Then I'll come over to my tens place. In my tens place, I have a 0 on top and a 4 on the bottom. So that tells me my 0 is less than my 4, which means I'm going to have to ungroup for my tens place. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to start by subtracting my ones to get those out of the way. So 8 ones minus 6 is what I'm doing. So I'm going to take a look at what my drawing would look like for this. My drawing would have 100 to start with, and 0 tens, and 8 ones. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ones. So for my ones, I can just subtract my 6. So I'm going to subtract 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have 2 left over. So I'm going to put 2 ones at the bottom. Now in my tens place, I have my 0. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to come over to my hundreds and ungroup my 100 and make it 10 ones instead. So I'm going to cross off that 100 and I'm going to make it 10 ones. Or I'm sorry, 10 tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now I have 10 tens, which is the same thing as 100. So up in my problem, I'm going to put a 0 above my 1 because I have 0 hundreds left. But in my tens place, I can cross off my 0 now, and I can make my 0 tens 10 tens. So I'm going to write my 10 tens up on top. Now I know some of you like writing your 1 just next to your 0 because it makes it a little bit easier to keep things in the right place. So if you want to just write a 1 for your 10 tens next to that 0, you can do it that way too. So we are able to subtract. Now we have 10 tens minus 4 tens. So I'm going to cross off those 4 tens I'm subtracting. 10, 20, 30, 40. And I'm left with 6 tens left. So I'm going to put 6 tens down at the bottom. So I have 62 is my final answer. Okay, so I'd like you to go ahead and keep going with this page, practicing with your zeros. Any questions you have with a 0 in the ones place, for instance, number 5, if you look at number 5, you'll see you have a 0 in the ones place, which means for this problem, you're going to have to come over to your tens place and ungroup one of your tens and move those 10 ones over to your ones place. So make sure you pay attention to which place value your 0 is in, and make sure you ungroup the right place value to get either 10 extra tens or 10 extra ones. So go ahead and complete this page, and then you're going to go on to the next page in your SAB, page 182. Okay, on page 182, you are going to be doing the same thing at the top of the page. You're going to be first deciding if you need to ungroup. If you do need to ungroup, you're going to borrow one of your tens to make 10 ones, or one of your hundreds to make 10 tens, depending on where your zero is in your problem. If your zero's in the ones place, like number 14, you're going to ungroup a 10. If your zero is in the tens place, like number 13, you're going to ungroup 100 and make 10 tens. So first decide if you need to ungroup, then go ahead and do that and make your new groups and then subtract. At the bottom of the page you have two word problems that are both subtraction problems that you'll need to solve. So make sure that when you read the problem, you underline any important information for yourself, and then make sure you read your question really carefully to make sure you know what you're trying to figure out. When you're done with both of your SAB pages, come and check them with Mrs. Gilmore. Then you can go on to the Unit 4 extensions.